right now, of course, this is the class entitled Developing Positive Relationships and Living Effectively and Personal Growth. But the topic that we're covering, of course, and this is a continuation, is developing, maintaining, strengthening, and sometimes even healing relationships. I'd like to start with number 14 here, as far as principles for strong relationships, marital relationships. For number 14, do not expect to do everything together. Do not expect to do everything together. Spending time apart can actually help a couple feel closer during the time they do spend together. I've been married 42 years, and I've noticed that many times we have different interests, a different need to do things separately, but then when we're together, it's more meaningful. I think part of it, though, too, is the fact that, as a strong general rule, maybe always to some extent, couples have different needs. They just do. And I know my wife sometimes has a need to get together with her friends or friend and do something together for a change, things that I'm not interested in, and vice versa. But I think what's important is giving each other space. If we can give each other that space and time to do our own thing, the time we have together seems to be richer and more meaningful. A person who has their own friendships, hobbies, projects, and interests has a more enriched life. Don't be afraid to have a life outside of your partner. It can actually draw you closer together. So it's sort of a paradox in a sense. Number 15, expect that you will disagree. Everybody who's been married probably for at least 30 days will know this, that they're going to have disagreements. It's to be expected. This is a myth. This is a myth. Happily married couples agree on the big issues in their lives. That'd be nice, but it's a myth. Researchers found that almost 70% of the big issues, such as religion, child rearing, finances, and intimacy, are merely managed by partners, not necessarily solved. So it's okay to disagree.
And those are the 4 top ones that you said?
Yes, according to research. This is one research resource. Those were some of the biggest. Which kind of makes sense when you think about it. Religion, child rearing. You wouldn't think child rearing, that's a good question, by the way. You wouldn't think child rearing was so huge, but as a professional counselor, frequently, one of the primary stressors between couples is differences in child rearing. And it carries over into affecting their relationship as well. Arguing, disagreeing, and so on. I've often felt, I'll share my personal perspective with you, that it's better to have a couple err on the side of leniency or err on the side of being too strong rather than disagreeing totally. Because disagreeing totally on parenting, then everything goes out the window. And many times a child's more likely to be angry as well. Fortunately, couples learn to manage their disagreements through compromising rather than expecting to always agree. That word, compromise, that is huge in a marriage. 42 years, I figure I can say that. Compromise is huge. It's not easy, but it's huge. Agreeing to disagree can be useful. That is okay. Now, one of the mysteries or paradoxes of this is people can disagree, and they both can be right from a different perspective, but it gets back to compromise, really, to make it work. Any thoughts or questions at this point? Number 16, expect that your marriage will change. Do you think this is true? Most people, just your personal thoughts, most people that enter into marriage don't think of it as something that's going to change significantly or change. I think when I got married at 19, it never occurred to me that things would be different, that things would change. Well, now at 62, I can tell you things change and relationships change. I'll throw something in, though, because this is free. It can change for the better. It will change, but it can change for the better. And we're going to see why more clearly, I think, as we go on through this lesson. A quotation by one author says this: "The only things that one can be sure of is death and taxes." But I'm going to add a third, and that's that marital relationships will change. The only constant in life is change. Children grow, money fluctuates, jobs come and go, bodies change shape. The nature of life is that each person is a work in progress and infinitely evolving being. Things will change, including marital relationships. But I'm going to say it again, it can change for the better, depending on knowledge, perspective, and motivation. Number 17, expect your romance to have peaks and valleys. Now again, when I get married at 19, I never expected any valleys, only peaks. But they come together. And they will. They always will. One advantage of marriage is that when you fall out of love with him, or he falls out of love with you, it keeps you together until you fall in love again. Judith First, an author and authority and marital relationships, wrote that. I'll read that again. One advantage of marriage is that when you fall out of love with him, or he falls out of love with you, it keeps you together until you fall in love again.
With who?
The same person. The same person. The same person.
I didn't know. I mean,
That's it.
That's a good. To me,
good.
that was a legitimate question. I'm sorry.
Well, I didn't see that question in that until you said that.
Okay.
Then all of a sudden it dawned on me, wow. Yes, the same person.
The grass is greener on
The same
side,
person.
doctor.
The grass seems
Sometimes.
green on the other side. Oh, that's Bill, that's good. The grass seems green on the other side. Does it ever? Till you get over there.
Always.
Come on.
Then you find out this green was just weeds.
That's right.
So, wow, I wish I was back where it has a lot more grass. So that is true. Yeah. Number 18, know that your partner is not a mind reader. That is huge. That is huge.
That's true.
I've heard things like this from relatives, family, growing up myself. You've known me all these years, and you have to ask that?
Yeah. Really.
Or how can you not know what I mean? Or how can you not understand how I feel? I'll be repeating something along these lines later, but when we get into gender differences, we're going to learn that one of the biggest problems in marriages and with couples is that both men and women frequently expect the other partner to know what they're thinking or how they're feeling. And they don't.
Sometimes when there's resentment, they respond that way.
Sometimes when there's resentment, they respond that way.
They would know what the wife was saying, or vice versa. It's just the resentment in there, they're reacting.
So sometimes because they're resentment.
Yeah, so they react instead of saying, yeah, I knew what you were saying, or I knew what you wanted. You give the person a hard time.
Okay, in other words, like they know what you're saying, but because of resentment, they may say.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's
Sometimes.
gets along the line of communication,
Yeah.
or lack of communication, whatever. Sure, sure. I'm glad you mentioned that. Many times, what happens is many times, they don't understand what the person's saying and feeling, or they misunderstand what they're saying. They misunderstand, so they try to mind read, but they can't. They try to mind read, and so they think they mean something different than what they really mean. Or they think they're saying something different than they're really saying. Then you feel resentful. And you get an argument. That happens a lot. And I've been through that myself. I don't think anybody's immune to that. In fact, I could tell you stories. But anyway, I'm glad I have a patient wife. In couple counseling, one person expecting the other to know what and how they think is often the primary problem. Because someone knows and loves you does not mean they will automatically understand your needs, wants, and desires. Words to live by. If you want to be honored, make it known. That's a quote. If you want to be honored, make it known. Number 19, showing love through appreciation. Showing love through appreciation. In marriage, appreciation must be expressed often. People, this is more than huge. This is more than huge. In marriage, appreciation must be expressed often. Anybody have any thoughts on that? Or what that means? The power of appreciation in marriage. Anybody share any thoughts on that?
I say maybe, thank you for doing this for me, or I appreciate just you getting this for me in just a little sense. So sometimes it's just a one-way street, and it's, when it's not a two-way, that's very kind of hard. But in the little things, I would say, appreciate you taking care of the dog, or,
Thank you. Thank you. You said a couple things, both very, very, very...
Verbally, words, actually.
Verbal words.
Yeah.
Verbal words. Thank you, both of you.
I think appreciation goes hand in hand with love also, because the words are okay, but some of us want more than words.
Wow.
Like, if I appreciate, where do you want to go? Or what do you want, or,
So the actions have to match the words.
And I'm not saying everybody's the same, but that is huge for some people. In other words, don't just say thank you. Say
It is
more.
huge. It is huge. Let me add to what you said. It's huge for everybody. You said most people, but really, when I think about it, it's huge for everybody. Is having your words match your actions. And you had mentioned a moment ago too, just being thankful for things, letting the other person know you appreciate things. That is very important. You did mention quickly though too that sometimes it's one way, and we'll get into that too, because it must be two ways. But a little mystery, maybe not a mystery, but a little interesting fact, is when one person consistently makes an effort to show verbal appreciation, the other person's more likely to start to do the same. We'll get more into that when we get into communication too, but those are thank you for everybody's thoughts, I appreciate that. So in marriage, appreciation must be expressed often. Heartfelt expressions of thanks for your spouse's good qualities, loving care, and small deeds send the message that you do not take your partner for granted. Question, no right and wrong answers. How important is it, do you think, that a spouse or a partner feels valued, affirmed, or loved?
All the time.
All the time, very?
Yes. 24/7.
24/7. Thank you. Can you say any more about that?
Yeah.
24/7 is an ongoing need. Yeah. Constant. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. So it's very important. Successful partners appreciate one another out loud and do so often. Remember, these are based on research. When a man opens the car door for his wife, this is a quotation by the Duke of Edinburg. Say, how did I get him in here? It was in the literature. I thought it was interesting. Okay. When a man opens a car door for his wife, it's either a new car or a new wife. I don't know how he got that wisdom, so much wisdom. But paradoxically, there's so much truth to that. There was a therapist years ago, I read something he had written. He was saying that marital turmoil, possibly the divorce rate itself, could be diminished if people would do in their marriages what they did when they were dating. Like taking the chair back for your wife, open a car door for her, she drops something, picking it up. Maybe the wife, little gifts, whatever. I think there's some truth to that. Interesting. Any thoughts before we continue? I appreciate all of your ideas and questions and everything. They're wonderful. I appreciate it. Okay, number 19. Showing love through appreciation, continuing now. Small but frequent measures of appreciation can have a lasting impact on a relationship. Small but frequent measures of appreciation can have a lasting impact on a relationship. According to research, couples who make an effort to appreciate each other often report higher levels of partnership, friendship, and intimacy. This can develop a stronger marriage over time. Showing appreciation creates a chain reaction of these factors. Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others, according to Cicero, a philosopher. Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others. Gratefulness, thankfulness, appreciation, validation, affirmation, encouragement, using those as being related. Okay. Number 20, saying thank you. Someone touched on this a moment ago. Saying thank you even in the small things. Now I could talk about my wife because she's not here yet. Sometimes, routinely, I get up in the morning and she's made breakfast. And she has to work full time herself. I really appreciate that. We'll learn about this later. But her primary love language is acts of service. And I know that. So I know she's saying, I love you. So I'm make darn sure every morning, no matter how I feel when I get up, it does not matter, it's not relevant. I say, honey, thank you for bringing me breakfast. I really appreciate it. I don't say, couldn't you have made a scrambled egg? Or could you not burn the toast next time? Or you could have made a little bit more, you know. I'm going to starve to death. What do you think would have happened?
She would probably Not talk to you no more.
For openers, probably not talk to me anymore. For openers,
Either that or she'd probably slap you silly, either one of them.
I hope not, but she probably would feel like it for sure.
Yeah?
What do you think might happen to her making breakfast? It'll be over. Yeah. So it's to my vested interest to say, thank you, sweetheart, I appreciate the breakfast, but I really do. More so, because her love language is doing things. So, now my love language is not acts of service primarily. Mine is words. When she says thank you, it's a higher level to me than it would be for her. But because I know her love language, the other day, without being asked, I'm getting off topic now, but without being asked, I took out the trash.
Wow.
2 bags. One in both hands. Recyclables and the non-recyclables.
She appreciates that?
Simultaneously. Yes. Because to me, I'm just taking out the garbage. But she hears, I love you. We'll get to that later. So back to showing appreciation in different ways. Okay. Good morning, honey. We're just talking about you. But it's all good. It was all good.
But I'm always late, right?
No. It's how wonderful you are making me breakfast each morning. I appreciate it.
Not on Sundays. Not on Sundays.
So showing love through appreciation. Showing appreciation creates a chain reaction of these. I repeat myself here. Let me continue. Number 20. Saying thank you, even in small things. Chains do not hold a marriage together. It is threads, hundreds of tiny threads, which sew people together through the years. That's a quotation of another author. Chains do not hold a marriage together. It is threads, hundreds of tiny threads, which sew people together through the years. I almost want to get off on that, but I will in a moment. Saying thank you can be some of these tiny threads. Saying thankful can be some of these tiny threads. Thanking your spouse for a job well done. Aim to thank your partner for something at least once each day. At least once each day. Thank you for being here, my class sweetie. Thank you. I got my one in now. It's very important. Sing unsung praises. Sing unsung praises. Pay attention to your husband or wife's unique personality traits and admirable assets. One half of a successful marriage is acknowledging these assets. Your job is to appreciate them. Show your appreciation for your spouse by making note of his or her qualities that might otherwise go unnoticed. Number 22, do something completely unexpected. Like taking out the trash. Don't wait for anniversaries or birthdays. Instead, surprise your spouse with a loving email, beautiful flowers, or a thoughtful gift.
Oh, how cute!
That can make a big difference.
Yes.
It really, really can. Example, leave a note in your spouse's briefcase or purse. Drop off a lunch. Bring home your spouse's favorite movie when it is least expected. You see these more when people are dating, and you see it less after they're married. And that's what I was referring to when I said if people would continue to do in marriage what they're doing when they're dating, it would help significantly. Gifts or surprises don't have to be expensive. There's a thought that counts. 23, don't sweat the small stuff. don't sweat the small stuff. By not sweating the small stuff, you give your spouse the much needed room to be human.
Can you expound a little bit on that?
My understanding, thank you, my understanding is basically if your spouse or your significant other is doing something or has done something that maybe you wish they didn't, if it's not a big issue, let it go.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like sometimes if there is a lot of what might be perceived by the other person as criticalness, maybe it's intended to help, assist, guide, but nevertheless, if it's perceived as criticalness, it just creates a cycle of hurt feelings, wounds, resentment, type of thing. Number 24, stop and smell the roses. Stop and smell the roses. It is difficult to appreciate what you have time to see. Take time to appreciate the small and sometimes magical moments of everyday life together. Put your phone on silence or push the mute button on the remote and concentrate a few moments appreciating your partner. I am far from perfect, but I at least do that. My wife goes in to speak to me. I put the TV on mute. Do I have to? Not really, but it communicates to her that what she's saying to me or what she's about to say is really important to me as a primary at that moment. And I believe she appreciates that.
Your wife wants to say.
Oh, yes.
The book I got you for Valentine's Day,
Uh-huh.
there's a excerpt in it I read about this couple. The book is called Married for Life, and it just has excerpts from different people who have been married for a very long time. And the one couple had been through a terrible time, health-wise and whatever, and the person that wrote this commented, you don't know if you have the next day. You know, you don't know if you're, so you need to live each day as though, make it significant.
maybe you're not.
Don't take it for granted. And especially as you get older in your marriage, you just don't, young people think they have forever, and when you get to be a certain age, you realize you don't. So you need to take care of your relationships, you really do.
Yeah, yeah. And what I'm hearing you say is that each day, consider it very important and precious. And that is tremendously helpful in nurturing a relationship. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. So I'm going to repeat myself briefly here. Put your phone on silence or push the mute button on the remote and concentrate a few moments appreciating your partner. This little thing can have significant dividends because it touches on the quality time and affirmation. Number 25, make your partner feel special. Make your partner feel special. Before I get into this, any thoughts? How can your partner, now or in the future, make you feel special? What might be some ways?
Probably like acknowledging them in public,
Acknowledging, say more.
like acknowledging them in public.
Acknowledging them in public.
Something that they did, my wife or my husband did this, and I'm just proud of them. Something I would think like that.
In public, saying nice things about your partner, about your spouse, nice things they've done or they're doing. Okay. Quick side note, wayside, far outside note, but significant. Saying that with your children in public in front of them is powerful too. Wow, I'm so proud of Jim. I'm so proud of Jennifer. Jolie's awesome. And when you share that with people, it really helps your relationship with them as well. Thank you. Oh,
Bringing even just one stem of rose, you know, something. Even if you just grab it from the garden or something, just bringing it in and.
Just one stem of rose.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
Yes, beautiful. Just small little thoughts. Yeah. Any other thoughts? How you could help someone else feel special, or what would make you feel special? Any
You
other
can
thoughts?
walk, but I mean, this is probably gonna get too romantic, but you can probably walk with them with their arms around each other.
Yes.
Because trust me, if that had happened to my parents, if they would have walked with their arms around each other every single day, they probably would not have gotten a divorce when I was 9 years old. And then, in other words, it probably would have helped them out a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Right.
We're going to get into touch in a moment. That's quite powerful. That's no small thing. Thank you for sharing that. I got to share this. Hold your thought. My wife and I joke. We'll walk through the mall. We're holding hands. And I'll make comments like, "For 42 years of marriage, not doing too bad. We're still getting along and holding hands." You know. But I think that's true. Yes.
I was just thinking regarding being special. In a woman's world, and I'm going to talk about now, I can't say many years ago because I'm sure a woman has always been a busy body. But in a woman's world right now, if we're a woman that is working outside the house, and we come home and we're doing dinner and we're doing everything we usually do, for me, any little thing that a husband would do to say, you know, sit down and I'm going to do it right now, or you can do that and I'll take over, that would make, well, I'm talking about, I guess, me more, especially because it's taken me from the responsibilities that I do and tell me that you take a rest. Because if you're always constantly on the go, I think women would appreciate that a lot. And not only once in a while, you know, because if you are, like most women, I think we are responsible. We do what we have to do. And we get up the next morning and we keep on doing it. And we do it because we care. But we also need to be shown that. And for me, I guess I'm speaking for me, if you just tell me today, you're just going to get home and don't do anything. And I'm going to take over.
Thank you.
And it doesn't have to be huge, just be little things.
Little
It doesn't
things.
have to be the whole kitchen, you know.
Yeah, so why don't
Work.
you just settle for the table? Yeah, and the whole kitchen. Yeah. Having somebody do things for you in a time when you really, really need the help really says a lot. It means a lot. And you really feel special when someone does these little things for you. Yes.
I know this probably doesn't make a lot of sense to people, but I hate to come home and after work and I walk into the bedroom and the bed's not made. That just, and it really
I
doesn't
see
make
some
any
hands
sense
going
because
up
there's
there.
nobody there to look at it, you know. I mean, it's just not, but the alarm goes off, we get up, he helps me make the bed before he goes to the bathroom and I go to the kitchen. And I really appreciate that because I know when I come home, you know, the bedroom looks nice, even though that's probably not a very big thing, but
It is to
to
you.
me it makes a difference in the way I feel, you know.
So doing things together to even show up.
In other words, what
Appreciate
she's
it.
trying to say is have a clean house as much as you.
Yes.
It's
As
less
much as
stressful,
you can.
know, it's, takes
Right.
away some
It's
stress.
less stressful. Hold it. I know it's important. I'll lose my train of thought. Hold that thought. Thank you. Thank you for. We'll get into this later on. One gender difference is that women, as a rule, they're more global in a sense. They feel connected to their house, their home, their children, their husbands simultaneously. More intensely than men are. Men just kind of like compartmentalize more. And so I've heard this before, and I've seen it, and I think my wife is touching on it. If the house is in disarray, I wouldn't normally by myself even pay much attention to it. My wife will feel disarray because the house is. Because she feels connected to her house, more so. That's a gender difference. But I know that, and so I'll help her make the bed. Yeah, it's true, it's true. Yeah, yes, ma'am, yes.
Well, you know, I grew up single parent, and I was being a guy. I was used to my mom just doing everything, you know. And I think that part of my growing up went into my relationship as well, right? I guess, you know, the guys do that and the girls do that, you know, with that mentality. But what I've learned throughout the years, I think what you're talking about is women fail to communicate, and they're doing all this and they're doing all that, and they expect us to read their minds, when in reality, that's not the way I was brought up, you know. And I'm not saying it was right or wrong, but the fact is that we were brought up. So now here you are as a man, and you're doing the way you were brought up, and then you know, you don't communicate well, the relationship goes bad, right? But I realized after I got divorced that, you know, I was in the military, you know, that even though when I was deployed, basically my wife at that time, or my ex-wife, was a single parent, right? You know, so now until we got divorced and, you know, I had my kid, and I realized, well, now I'm a single parent, so it required me to do all that, you know, pick up after him, and
Right.
you know, it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
You know, I don't think it was until that moment that I realized how much work it is at home, you know,
yeah,
just to maintain the house.
yeah, there's a lot of work in
And,
maintaining a house,
So
things we all.
when you said about the bed, you know, when my wife, it's important for her that we do our beds. You know, at times, you know, I forget. You know, for me it's like, oh, I gotta get up, gotta go to work. But you know,
Yeah.
it is important that
That's
we
very
share the
important, but you
short,
should.
and then
Yes.
we do that. But I believe that I think what the women feel is the fact that, you know, how were we brought up? You know, I mean,
That's an important point.
and it's something that we have to communicate, and we have to make an effort to change, and we want this relationship to work, you know?
Oh, yeah, we have to have the effort and the motivation to make the changes. And many times the problem with communication, understanding each other's needs, I'm kind of sharing what you were saying or repeating it from a different perspective, is that how we're brought up can have a strong impact on whether we understand our spouse, absolutely. And plus gender differences anyway. Men literally are neurologically wired different as well. We'll get into it another time. So, but you're right. It's true. Sometimes you have to unlearn some things.
Kind of right.
We do. So making your partner feel special. Take time to accommodate the little things that mean so much to your partner. Letting your wife sleep in for an hour. Hire a babysitter and take your husband out for a surprise dinner. Do the dishes while your wife is doing something else. Success in marriage does not come merely through finding the right mate, but through being the right mate. Rabbi Brickner, that's his quotation. I'll say it again. Success in marriage does not come merely through finding the right mate, but through being the right mate. You're going to hear the word compromise a lot, but I think it's a golden word when it comes to marital relationships. It's all about compromise, working together, cooperating. Number 26, write a gratitude list or a thankfulness list and leave it where your spouse can find it. Many people who feel that they are no longer in love actually have a strong desire to feel appreciated by the other person, nevertheless. Make a list of what you appreciate about the other person and have it consist of positive, sweet, funny, or even gushy sentiments that express reasons you love your partner. I have not done that, but I can start. I didn't think of that.
Can you repeat that again?
Okay. Make a list of what you appreciate about the other person and have it consist of positive, sweet, funny, or even gushy sentiments that express reasons you love your partner.
What's gushy?
It's like mushy.
Oh.
Yeah, gushy's like mushy.
Oh.
but more like gushy.
Sorry, I just had to ask that.
But we can't rule out mushy.
Yeah, there you go.
Any other questions? I think probably sentimental,
Yeah.
Oh.
personal, kind of like with a loving attitude. This little thing,
Sometimes you might not want to write those down, though.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sometimes you may not want to write those down. Yeah,
Yeah, because your
Gotta be
kids
careful.
can accidentally.
see them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and be careful.
What?
Yeah, how gushy. Yeah.
Nothing.
This little thing can have significant dividends because it touches on quality time and affirmation. Okay. After you complete your list, put it in a surprising place where your loved one will discover it. Appreciation, thankfulness that is communicated is powerful, is powerful. Number 27, unconditional love, the highest form of appreciation. Unconditional love, the highest form of appreciation. By offering unconditional love and support to your spouse, you'll send a message of complete gratitude or thankfulness or appreciation. Unconditional love means that you accept the entire package that is your husband, wife, fiance, or loved one. True love does not come by finding the perfect person. True love does not come by finding the perfect person, but by learning to see an imperfect person perfectly. Author unknown. I want to say it again. It's kind of neat.
Yes, please.
True love does not come by finding the perfect person, but by learning to see an imperfect person perfectly. Finding the imperfect person perfectly might be accomplished by being thankful for or appreciative of the other person's qualities, assets, or positive attributes, even the small ones.
Amen.
When I grew up, it's funny, I still remember things that I heard from my parents when I was a child. Why they're all coming up now, I don't know. Maybe because of what material I'm going over. But have you ever heard this? Your parents ever say this? What's the magic word? Thank you. Never heard that?
Yes.
No, fine. Well, actually, the irony of it is kind of magical in a sense. It is. Gratitude and gratefulness is amazingly magical at times. Okay. 28, giving affection. Giving affection. According to research, for newborns, being touched is as important as being fed. Who would have thought? For newborns, being touched is as important as being fed for their very survival. According to research, a lack of touch can result in severe weight loss, sickness, and even death. Babies, newborns. Additional research, infants who are frequently touched gain weight faster, cry less, stronger vital signs than infants that are not touched as frequently.
Does that include preemies?
Does that include adults?
Yes, it
Yeah.
does. It does. It does. It does. It does. It does. It does certainly include preemies. It certainly does include adults. We'll get more into that. That's very important.
Well, they've discovered, like in the NICU units, that if they have volunteers that come and just touch the babies, even if they're in their incubator, they can, someone can just, just caress them, and it has a great improvement in their
health.
getting better and gaining weight and improving.
Even for preemies, even for just
Yeah.
children
Very
just
sick
born,
children,
touch is powerful. Yes. I find it amazing. Something so simple, I find it amazing. What does a baby know coming out of the womb?
Know how to eat.
they eat and cry, I know, and wet themselves, I know. But, I mean, really, what do they learn? They're following their design. And part of the human design is a need for touch. And it does not leave. Probably the smaller and more dependent they are on others for survival, the stronger the need, but nevertheless, the need is always there. And I'm just throwing that in. But later on we'll get into research about touch and communication and so on. But yeah, somebody had a yes.
Yes. When my daughter, she was premature about a month, and she had lung issues. She was in the prenatal ICU.
Mm-hmm.
And what they did there, one time my husband came out of work real early, and they told him to unbutton his shirt. And they took everything off of her, and they put her inside him. And it wouldn't work with mothers, it would just work with dads. And they put her in there. And it just happened that everything went normal. And she improved within that week. Her lungs started developing. She started eating more. But it's just with a.
Let me repeat that. That's so important. Thank you. There's one child that was high risk for not surviving. Preemie, you said, or she was ill. They put her close to the father. And that contact, that touch, helped her become much stronger and survive. Yeah, that's a powerful confirmation, really. That's interesting. Thank you for
It's a
sharing
very
that.
huge bond that they have.
Yeah,
Very, very
created
close.
a bond too, yes,
Mhm.
yes. Thank you.
Just additional research for men who affirm their wives' pregnancies, the babies are healthier. That
Can you say more?
even, your wife's pregnant, you touch her abdomen, you talk to the baby, that baby has a better outcome, physically than pregnancies that aren't affirmed by the father.
Thank you, thank you. You're referring to research that's been done. I have, years ago, I read some research done that, this is actually clinical research, folks. This is amazing. I find it amazing. That when fathers would talk to the baby before it's born, in the womb, they would talk to it. When the baby was born, the baby knew the dad's voice and responded to the dad's voice differently than others. Isn't that amazing? They've also done research that some types of music seem to help improve the child's development in the womb. One of them being classical. I don't know what else.
Maybe Christian.
Mozart. I think Beethoven.
Beethoven,
Classical,
yes.
Mozart. Yeah.
Maybe Christian.
Amen.
Possibly Christian. I guess positive music. That will add some kind of melody or harmony to it.
Amen.
I'm assuming. That's not. I haven't read that, but I did hear classical. That was fascinating. Let me see here. Where did I leave off? Our need to be touched does not stop at childhood. We've been talking about that. One study found that it takes at least 8 meaningful touches per day, or hugs, for an adult to thrive. Any thoughts on that? That's what some of the research says. It takes 8 hugs or meaningful touches per day for an adult to thrive. Any thoughts? I find it fascinating. And I'm also trying to figure out, how can I do that? I can't run hug around strangers all day. My wife and I, though, what we try to do, well, it's I'll tell you the 2 things. One's kind of cute, but it's kind of neat. But every day, every morning, we kiss each other and give each other a warm hug to start the day. We try to make it a meaningful hug, because it's only one. But at least it's a hug.
One.
It's a hug. It's a good one.
Yeah.
My wife comes home one day, and she has a little red bell. So maybe one of her students gave her. She says, this bell, every time you ring it, it means I need a kiss and a hug. So every once in a while I'm in a house and I hear ding, 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 ding. And I figure, okay, I'm doing my part.
I got it at CVS Pharmacy. It says one ring for a hug and 2 for a kiss, or 1 for a kiss and 2 for a hug.
All I heard was ding, 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 ding. So,
That's something else. Okay.
that's something else. We can't put that on camera. But, so I'm trying to figure, okay, I'm going to be a good husband, so so I figured, okay, now what if I rang it? What would happen? She did. She was there. So we got a little red bell right there. And we have a woman that comes to help us clean, and she didn't know any better, so she stuck it, put it away. Well, I put it right back up. It's an important bell. So anyway, just a little side note there.
You can ring my bell.
If there's a run
Now the song's
on
starting.
purchasing bells, I'll know why now. Okay, I'm going to stop there.
True.
Next week, we're going to continue to talk about giving affection, and the power of touch is going to be very, very, very interesting. I want to thank everybody for being here this morning. Any last questions or thoughts before we close? Okay. I want to thank everybody for being here.